Call the meeting to order to provide.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Aldermember Starr.
Here.
Placky.
Here.
Carey.
Here.
Polson. Kerrigan. Mayor Barner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. So I take the motion to adjourn closed session.
I know that we adjourned the closed session, which we are legal action, causing action, litigation, and confidential attorney-client communications in pursuit of RS 161 sealed bids and related documents until the bids are open, and sealed proposals and related documents or any other document related to negotiations, contract.
Call the meeting to order.
Reject.
United
States of America.
Sorry.
And to the republic.
Alderman Placky.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Polson.
Yes.
Sorry, Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Starr.
Yes.
That consumers. Good evening. Certification for the election today. Will it be the next meeting? Sure. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
it was a part of it.
I know.
Yeah, I think Roger Vegas one actually submitted. Yeah.
It's the first time. It's
Oh,
at that meeting.
This must be
Published or on.
Yeah, they normally do it right after, they normally do this right after all the guest speakers. I guess they have to do it now for some reason.
Okay. So Kathy, Andrew, this is one in sending in the call. This is a
On the third floor, I think there's 1,300. Some odd registered voters.
Yeah, because, yep, I've been putting all of the voices to Kathy.
Let's say that every city does it.
Pretty similar to what you were. I think the highest that I saw.
Yes, they have open session again.
Before you have to, they had 17%.
And I don't remember what I was there, I can see.
The city's different.
Sunday. Committee that showed, and nothing was finished. All stamps, you could made a motion or something. So they just all went, yeah. The way the grant said, we invoice, one of our. Something. So that position is 50/50, that's just for school nights, and I invoice them once a year. It's retroactive after we incurred the expense. Then the first grant position is a November cycle, so it starts November of every year. And I'm gonna say we're in year 3 right now. This remember we start 1 year and we after that. And I build them.
Committee that was.
First thing I do is I-
Did you come up with a dollar out for the first say? But
I think after,
recommendations,
Yeah.
like if you, really, you know.
Say don't talk about.
Yeah, and I'll go.
Create sales tax.
I'm a struggle. She's trying to get out.
Funding goes slowly.
Trying to get out to the downtown. How do you like
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
It'll still be up to the aldermen to decide on the size of the building.
Lives in,
No, I have not been told that. We didn't do that.
The cost.
And I'm interested in why. That would be, the other two still, the other two are.
Yeah.
The two that we got a year after it was, the first one was our day, when he retired. That one is 50-50. And Dylan, yeah, we're on the first grant. He's had. Exactly, and then Andrew.
The three
On the second grant, which is here after the first.
With the half.
And, yeah, we have the number. We have, I'll have to go back, I think I have a little bit more to it. If Pat is having a difficult time. The great commission.
Yeah. And it's a good. Oh, I know. I'm right there. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I did it. We do a spreadsheet and we send out our budget, I guess you would say, what we expect our budget to be for the following year, so that all of us can kind of stay on the same page. With potential, whatever some increases that come at a time, like insurance goes up or funding goes up or whatever. And then we send that over to the school, so they have it, then they turn around once I do it, then they'll a percent, whatever the percent, yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about this.
The only one that's, so on Dylan's position, I go ahead and discount the invoice to the school, so I just bill out. So that one is a breakdown of, every year there's eventually it'll be a 50-50 split, just like the first. So as we get closer to that 50-50 split, the schools have equal portions, like right now it's 20. Yeah, 50-50, yeah, right now it's 20%, and then the grant is 60. Then we're gonna be 30-30, the grant would be 40, until we get finally to, 50-50, and it's split. And so I bill the grant and the school's portion to them, so like right now, I discount 20%, because I'm absorbing 20% myself. They would get billed at 80, and then they turn around, and I'm supposed to reimburse the grant at 60.
Yeah.
Until we get into the next.
35%.
They don't have to. But
If you get on there and you need to have to, if you want to schedule one through a future date, John, myself, Roger, and Kathy.
I just, it's great. It was just be thinking about anything that's going to be. That's true. We're a fat society, especially if you're big.
My understanding from,
Ones that don't even want, don't even do anything.
was that when we were awarded the grant guaranteed, 5 years, so it was, and so it was just, my understanding, maybe I had a different understanding, they would have to submit it annually.
It's hard to get them all together. And they all got you started.
I'm just trying to sort. I guess. So Roger, John over was really good. The second two, because that one, we wouldn't, the city wasn't There's two more positions at 50-50. So the school agreed, the school board all agreed that they would absorb.
That's why it's just, we need
Bring
to
Hoover off.
figure out exactly what we need,
100% of
what's there, and how big is it
a 50-50
on
partnership.
his side.
So in essence, out of all four, the city was responsible for a full one versus the other three. That's where it lived. Sure.
Because there's.
Came back.
So that's good, I appreciate that.
And I thought it was for Cat because we're now beyond our finance director of the city. Since we started all of that, Shawnee is number two. And it's good that she's still here, because she has some recollection of when we got Dylan's position going.
I see that. Bill, so changes.
Pretty much.
They've got to bring them up to speed and.
Grew up out east of State Road, just a mile east of State Road, far east side of the school district.
Well, that's how everyone.
And we'll bring school of Mayview and then.
Please, yeah, and I'll just stick out my favorite ones, try and track them down, that way I have it in front of me, we got my cell. It's not.
Some of that documents you gave us.
Just text or call, whatever the easiest thing. I'll start tracking down my papers. And I really need to get my SROs. We came over, at the beginning of the school year. I would like to get them to talk to your board, and I'd like to get them towards the end of the school year. They're for a while. And then Anna was running, she was some of that.
She was positive. So I did. That's why I like that.
That's one of the different, one thing we have to that is a place that, you know, annexing, she's at road and other roads.
And I know they were getting up the cycle, and when the new year would start on the officers grant cycle, I send the school, a new budget sheet. I will send you, I'll just forward you the, emails that have that data in. And again, when'd you?
One morning.
So it's fine. It might not be able to get us, but I can definitely get you those.
I try to keep things separate.
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah.
The.
Okay. So I'll see if I can. Get them on the video. Maybe you could,
Yeah, okay, sure. That's not only that, if you don't, I
know I could
I'm
probably
just asking.
I can find the one that you prepared for this year, because I did Dylan's and sent it out before the first start. And then,
Just like 24, it's just 24.
and then the other one I would have sent out probably just before that, I would say.
So you see this.
Who was sent it to you? No, it's just our budget sheet that I send to the school, because
Yeah.
we're all on different budget cycles. Ours starts April, ours starts July.
January. About to deal with it. July to June.
And Odessa's the only one that's saying April first, March 30th. So it's budgeting first, and you know, other this is an account. So it gets really confusing, so I try to get them out before school once before budgetary ends in July, but they normally start that in January.
Oh, yeah.
February. I'll get you what I can. I think I have some. It'll be helpful.
Yeah, it will, but I mean. I'm just.
I think
I thought
I
I'd
can track it down. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll pull out.
Everybody has, I'm just, my goal is to get us, we get on the same page. We're changing these, so it's going forward. I can't finish going back, but I can go after all forward. Five people there.
Electric.
And I've been there.
I mean, it's like anything.
Well, they've been wonderful. They've been very receptive. They've certainly helped. The city of Odessa tremendously, and super excited about continuing the parking stuff. Even our therapy dog radar got a small.
Yeah.
Call
I saw that.
got a little bit.
That was in the last year, so that made sense. Those are good.
The number of deployments that radars have is at like 250 deployments. Not just in the district, but in Odessa or in Aldermen County. We sent him over to, when the went on his we sent that over there. They had a, they had a fatality house fire. And it was just, you know, a nice. Yes.
We have one of these over there, second. Right before, makes me nervous that the next, first week of May, it's like, we had to add things that I was sure we it's been added on there. Wasn't here about it. I think he's trying to hang on. The reality is, that's it. I mean, it's just true. I mean, I didn't think he'd say it.
He just, I try to, I've yet had a chance to just go have, I mean, I had lunch with him after he was elected, but since then, that was in November, so I probably had lunch with him on late December, Christmas break. We keep, hey, we're gonna meet for lunch. Oh, I gotta cancel today. I got this. He'll call me and I had to cancel because it didn't work out. So I haven't yet to today. So I don't know.
Even though he was there, but now he's a totally different guy. A lot of things, always a lot of things.
Let me see if I can find, I think I can, a couple of documents that says, she'll have them on ready. And what we're gonna do tonight is I'm just gonna do like a real quick government. Actually, and then we expect away.
White House. I mean,
You got a couple of guys.
but I mean, I don't.
Yeah, and that's probably is the best, is to let them ask.
Yeah. I mean, they can, I never like this, because I can see the past three or whatever. I'm sure there's. They have the opportunity. I don't think that's time well spent. Supposed to push that. So.
Let me see if I can get this.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
We had to start doing a couple of rooms down there. A lot more to go. You are. It's Kim Bradshaw. I'm transplant from a little state. Well, I moved here from Ohio. My son's like a project manager.
Yeah.
He built a quarry food. It says project's finished. So you don't have to farmers like Phoenix to take on $1 billion project. White,
We're gonna need to come back.
family, the year after we moved here specifically, because the grandkids.
Done in all these towns.
No, you can't afford to go there. So sure.
Earlier here,
The price of house.
It's right here.
And there's lots of other reasons. 150-degree temperatures for 3 and their drinking water comes out of wells generally. Arsenic is a naturally occurring element. And it doesn't. It's very degrees of arsenic. Now, public water systems could mean
We're on.
like they have here. But it can also, they have private systems that could be well, it can also mean that water is general. I'm not.
You're not federal, that's what you just said.
Yeah, but I could relocate out there. And then my site gets transferred someplace else. You can't see it wrong.
Yeah, so as soon as you go there, you'll be somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I agree. I was hesitant to do that to begin with. I gotta talk.
We've been here since about 3 years.
Yes, it's 21. I have classmates that told me, don't follow your kids. Social discuss about. I gotta get it. I think it's just kind of a. Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's how I. No, how we did not have, although we had higher property tax, we do not pay sales tax on groceries. If I went to McDonald's in Ohio, I don't pay sales tax, anything I buy other than for several things like that. There's no personal property tax. And frankly, the nuts and bolts of government works a lot more efficiently. Well, here.
Now, I have a client that lives in Delicatessen. And I don't remember if it was you or someone else, but did you used to have an ice cream store? Yeah.
I know seasonal stuff in Michigan and Indiana, in Ohio, almost every little town is independent. Stops at ice creams. It's here, it's dominated by Big Queen and Andy's Custard. You see a couple of independents here and there, but not like Wild Farm.
I have always for a long time, wanted to get an Emery Thompson batch free tea. And get one that's big enough that you can customize your candies and things that you put in it. And come up with a specific formula for how you like your ice cream. So you can keep your formula number. And we can make a batch of ice cream just exactly the way you like it.
I had to do it all over again. I built my own store. Yeah. I wouldn't do sauce. The reason is that the cost of the machine. $5,000. You need to work. You can buy some used, of course. Get it right now, it's like a lot. If I was doing all that,
You did.
but I know you bought a guy.
He lives over by that new store, I think he loves it.
I know.
Actually, looks.
They look nice.
It was a $25,000 spray paint louder than the parking.
Yeah.
So the driveways.
There's
There's gonna be some driveways.
Yeah, but find a town that doesn't have one ice cream store.
If you wanna see what they look like, guys, over there,
We've got
Oak Road.
enough business.
Yeah, same place, pretty much.
Okay. That's all family business. I've worked with father on the sort of national century. When I hit that, that's the only day.
I live in my own place. So
Busted that wall.
Single parent, you don't
Sure.
talk about.
That sold retail.
But it's a vast industry, they bought some of the land over there,
Retreads.
and says they're gonna put in. Manufacturers that I over there. So, you sure?
I have people ask me quite a bit when I'm gonna retire.
That's zone for
What
industrial
am I gonna do if I retire?
manufacturing.
Well, I'll retire and somebody puts me in a box.
That's the,
I like what you're doing.
just piece of that, was it S&S
100 hours a week.
that's there that
Granted,
Takes
it's only
care
for
of
6 months.
Guardrails.
Family business.
Cage,
You know, my area is the same thing, seasonal business.
Whatever.
She's working a lot of hours. Anything around 40 times.
And I'm going, are you sure?
Yeah.
And then
There's
so.
a while and dealing with teenagers, that's nature. All that is change and stuff.
So they're not
We're in
going to
business for
manufacture.
months. Yeah. In the beginning, it's easy to find. Toward the end.
You're on bidding.
I'm working on it.
You're on.
Barbara said the same thing in the business.
What source I did? Yeah.
Couldn't understand it.
Basic sound.
You know, that kind of thing.
Like you said, in
If they
between,
don't show up.
what is it, the tire
You have
shop
to do
there,
your
and
job, but you gotta do their
and the
job.
fitness center.
And it's a small.
He says they fix that, and they're gonna pull in,
There's not a whole lot there, man.
that's, the manufacturer is gonna be north of that. But he says they bought that in between, and they're gonna put, those cargo deals there and stores.
James was across the street.
I mean, it's.
James, that's-
You know, they have really ruined the looks with right there.
I'll see him very much.
I'm going like, I don't think so. You never know. Said, "Oh, you have the other meeting there, bring it
First year
up."
we were here. Parking lot, I would find a way to go straight, parking to meet the street light. This guy gets off, he's got a video. And then he walks down.
Change recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
so,
road goes back to the devil's. He turned down,
I don't know, I mean, here's a lot of stuff around town.
went to grab the truck, and I let it go to the garage door up to, I had to put my car down. I had a car. In my driveway, in my car. Susie heard that garage. It's from school, the car didn't show up, but it was stolen.
Is that the north part? Probably. Is that what-
I don't know. That's the only two. All they do is just climb and see it. I thought. Wow. But then before, and I was told, it's still there.
On hours, but it's. That's so, so.
It was just re-emphasized the.
That's what every party.
Yes, be aware.
I may not be with that, so that's.
Anyway, that was a joke experience. I don't know.
Other than that, said, you wanna talk about it, it's good.
One thing about the area here was about. I don't know, this. What happens?
I did.
How can state. And part of that. Was it's self real life. It was in panel red.
You should have been playing.
It's right there, it's not nice. I was thinking long time.
No, I was absolutely, I was in college.
Finally, they don't ditch it. Didn't-
Should have been playing.
The area where I was in. For my.
I get it, but I love the game.
Yeah, 2 feet of.
You know,
I was long, so big, and they could grow special crops. Strawberries, blueberries.
Very busy on the street.
I don't know, busy as I.
Busy as you want.
I want to be, yeah.
Okay.
You could be.
I jump right across next week, but if I skip from myself.
Probably all weekend.
There's several places in the city that we can go, try to 6 or 8 games a day. And we got pretty good money, but it's a long. Just, I'm little man, born in November, I told him, I'm gonna do what I want to, but not necessarily.
That's just me. I think it gets hard. Just if I get calls like, hey,
I get emails every other week.
somebody cancel and do.
And it's honestly a lot of smaller schools end up having one, I'll do cold can for. Some small people done that way. Going there, I. Few words to games, I'm holding it around, they have 20 minutes, so it's good. But I tried to beginning of the season, I had a couple weeks where I had 3 or 4 games. They kind of got canceled as we gone through, but like I was supposed to have a tournament last week, training view, and then this Friday, I was doing something.
Go places.
Only if it's for like my first game. Most say 45-mile range, the best. I'll go to this Empty Springs area, Old Warrensburg. Last year, I guess for sure. There's not an easy way.
There's no easy to get there.
No, you have to go,
We have to go there.
you basically go on 7 and kind of go across that way.
We kept it in the country.
Oh, on the way back to the country, and it's not very fun.
It just,
But like I would leave
I
out,
know where you're at.
I leave out of Warrensburg and go
Watch out for the deer.
and be like, oh, come on now, and then go back to the direction. Hey. But. We're trying to see what state of the issue is. One issue. Now, there's a lot of people that get out of it because it's too much kind of soul, that might be able to schedule the drama. You want to not listen to anything else behind you. But I can have somebody, and me, my best friend, look, and someone, we went to school, like, we're fine, nobody really. I don't remember a whole lot of you. Thank you.
Call open session to order. Roll call.
Yeah, okay. Aldermember Starr,
Yes.
Placky,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Polson,
Yes.
Kerrigan.
Yep.
Mayor Bonner.
Yep.
We have a quorum.
Welcome to the visitors. Thank you for waiting. Appreciate that. We'll move right on to the consent agenda. Donna isn't here to talk about the finance report or anything like that. Did have one? Okay. So I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Got a motion and second, all in favor?
Who seconded, please?
Mike,
Mike Placky.
5-0, thank you. Mayor's report. First, I want to mention the tragedy in Lexington. Our hearts go out to our neighbors. When what was going to have happened, gas line blow up. Just want those people to know that they are in the hearts, minds, and thoughts of Odessans. Good news on the safest cities in Missouri. Chief Thompson, congratulations to you and the community. The community plays a large part in this as well. We are number 5 this time. Every year, SafeWise does a study of the safest cities in Missouri, and every year it seems that Odessa shows well, and they really showed well this time around at number 5 safest city. On the 29th, I was honored to go out and they had a special deal at the Mason's Lodge for the Vietnam War veterans. It was Vietnam War Veterans Day on the 29th, and I went out there. I was pleased to read a proclamation declaring that Vietnam for Veterans Day in the city of Odessa. They were very appreciative, and I was very appreciative to be able to go out there and do that. Did see another thing out in the police? Yeah, you had an officer there's an individual that was racing down the highway at 136 miles an hour, and he was safely apprehended by one of our officers. That could have been gone real bad, real quick, but it didn't. And so a lot of kudos there to that. That was handled very well. We've got strategic planning coming up starting this month. I am really looking forward to getting this started. And we have 2 focus groups that we're partnering with EverStrive to get this done. 2 focus groups will be formed from a great cross section of Odessans. And from young, I got a senior in high school, all the way up to some of our seasoned citizens, business owners, leaders. We've got a great cross section of Odessans, and the goal is that they come to these focus groups facilitated by EverStrive, and we start the process of making Odessa what Odessans want Odessa to look like. So I'm really looking forward to that. For those that came out and voted, thank you very much. Appreciate it when people show up to vote. Your vote counts, and I wish the turnout would be better. I'm always wishing the turnout would be better, but I'm grateful for those that do take the time to vote. And myself and the board, we will be doing city officials training on the 25th. And that is my mayor's report. We'll go down to one Alderman report. Alderman Flaherty. I have nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor. All right, Alderman Kerrigan. Alderwoman Polson.
Nothing tonight.
Alderwoman Starr. And Alderman Carey.
I too would like to thank the residents of Odessa for coming out and voting. If Bruce, go ahead, would you mind just standing? Bruce Whitsitt had the courage to go ahead and put his name on the ballot. And he is going to be a Ward 3 alderman starting, I think, at the next meeting, and I congratulate you. At this stage, I hope that the residents come out year after year after year. To have competition, I think, is good. So again, congratulations, Bruce.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. All right, city administrator.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I met with our department directors today, and I start with the Parks Department. They have quite a bit going on. We have baseball and softball practices commencing this week with games scheduled for the week of May 5th. T-ball registration is open and will continue until April 27th. Swim lesson registration is available online. Pool registration for city residents and pass holders is currently open and available, or I said pool party, yes. Pool party reservations are open for residents and pass holders only right now until April 21st. And then after April 21st, it will be open to anyone and everyone else. So Lindsay did state that she's had quite a few calls from non-residents or non-pass holders, and those that are residents and pass holders are very appreciative of the new process that we have to allow them time to make reservations. Recruitment for concessions and pool employees is currently underway. The pool is scheduled to open on Memorial Day, May 26th. As a part of the CIP, we've ordered a new motor and pump, as well as a new slide pad, and we've already got a new mower ordered as well. Our parks maintenance employees will be repainting the pool as soon as they have consecutive positive weather days for us there. And we are replacing the John Deere Gator as a part of this CIP. We plan to advertise the old one for sale by bid in the newspaper. So we won't be purchasing a new one until we get the previous one sold. And the wood fence at the aquatic center has been replaced for this upcoming aquatic season. If you are aware, we have hired or filled the building maintenance position with Kyle Bierman, who was a part-time parks maintenance employee. And so now he's full-time with the city as building maintenance, and he's already kicked things off very well, exceptionally. He started with maintenance at the reservoir. We saw one comment on Facebook stating that the reservoir looked so good, and they assumed that the Department of Conservation had mowed and maintained. So I just wanted to make it very clear that that was City of Odessa staff, and he did a great job getting compliments. So he will also be focusing on weed abatement in the downtown area for the next week or two. So he's doing great. For the police department, like the mayor said, we were ranked 5th of the safest cities by SafeWise in Missouri. The 911 tax that was on the ballot last week was also approved. So we've started discussions with Higginsville and to see what the next subsequent steps are and how implementation will move forward. We have a new police vehicle that has been ordered off of the state bid by our local Dodge dealership and is ready for purchase, and Josh will get moving with implementation of that, but that was also a 25-26 CIP project. We do have, as you know, Josh gets quite a few grants each year. Some of those grants that we've already, they've already notified us that we were awarded those grants have been put on hold due to the federal government issues that are currently happening. So we'll keep you posted on when we know more about that and when we will be able to receive those grant dollars. We have hired the new code enforcement and animal control officer position. Her name is Gayleen, and she is focusing mostly on code enforcement procedures right now. So she's learning the new code management software system that we implemented last year. And as soon as she feels comfortable, we're aiming for a June go live date for that public portion of that software to be available. So that will allow residents to, if they see something that's a concern or an issue via code enforcement, they can submit that by geographic parcel on a map, and that will help Gayleen kind of get the process started and automate some things for her to be able to make contact with those individuals that need to make improvements upon their property. So we're very excited about that, but again, targeting that for June. For water and street department, we've already procured the snow box, angle broom, and a new truck for water and street via the 25-26 CIP plan. The water basin that we had budgeted $90,000 to repair, we were able to get that completed in this previous fiscal year and not spend the $90,000. So that saved us a great deal of money by Darren finding an alternative option for us. That is complete and checked off the list. We put in 2 additional water services at Pine Creek. Those are our last 2 there, and 2 more at 7th and Pleasant duplex. A lot of the focus for the street department is going to be in the coming weeks focusing on street cuts that were made and getting those filled. And Darren has started conversations and plans to meet with Vance Brothers to discuss the chip seal projects for the 2025 street plan. And they'll be working towards getting the street plan up and running. If anyone's used the bathroom tonight, you'll notice that the bathroom renovations here at the community building are complete, thanks to Darren and his crew. We're very excited about those. Next steps will be working on the ADA bathroom. We hope to get some of that done in the last fiscal year, but it's going to trickle over into this fiscal year. So we'll just make a few minor improvements to kind of upgrade that a little bit, but if everyone should stop by the bathroom and take a look at the great work that they did for us. So it looks wonderful. And we fixed a water leak that was happening with our cooling system. So no more spots on the ceiling over there. That's all for water and streets. For community development, we have heard, nothing in stone, but we've heard that their Advanced Industries is continuing their expansion beyond the 7th and Pleasant expansion that they have, with potentially 2 more warehouses being added and built in Odessa. So I will keep you posted on that, but that's very exciting, and we're happy and proud of Advance for their business expansion. Pine Creek is very, very close to nearing the completion of the first 4 buildings over there. And then as soon as those are complete, we anticipate them to submit building plans for, or building permit applications for the next 4 multifamily dwellings over there.
How many are they putting in there?
16. So almost 4 down. We've issued a certificate of occupancy for 104 South Johnson. We also are continuing to work with the outlet mall owners. You know, we've been meeting with them as frequently as possible and pushing them towards making improvements to their property or selling the property if they can. We have heard of some interest in the first 2 buildings there, the old grocery store and the one next to it. So we're continuing to push them towards making their code enforcement upgrades, while I think they're continuing to seek purchasers for it. So either way, we're pushing and motion is happening. We have some potential demolitions coming in as a result of code enforcement as well, pushing on different property owners that have vacant homes in Odessa. So those are moving towards either demolition or sale as well. We have 2 of those. And there is construction of a new home on Kirkpatrick that's underway. We have a building permit for that. And then we did discuss the access road to the school sports complex off of Kirkpatrick, and would like to move forward with getting that into a future street plan. So we're working towards that as well. For administration, tomorrow morning, we have our pre-construction meeting with Cat Excavation for the ARPA projects. So we're excited to get those moving and off the ground. I'll have a lot more information for you guys once we get past that pre-construction meeting, but that's the kind of preliminary meeting, and then we'll get some start dates and timelines and information for you on that. The ARPA reporting is due to the Department of Treasury this month, so I will be working on that. And we met with MoDOT this past week to discuss different things that, quite frankly, we've been requesting for quite some time. So we were excited to get some sit-down time with our MoDOT representative, and she's stated that she would like to meet with us on a quarterly basis. So we hope that she continues with that level of communication. She did communicate to us one of the big requests that we've had and been pushing for is a speed reduction on 00 near the schools, near the high school and the 2 subdivisions that we have there. They did again for the 3rd time deny our request for speed reduction based on the data that they have. But one thing that is kind of coming down the pipeline is the potential for grant funded crosswalk lighting at College and 2nd Street. So Josh is working with MoDOT on that and getting that accomplished. We're working on getting our training in with Doppler. We haven't got those scheduled yet, but that is the plan. We'll get the trainings complete and then we'll be able to go live with Doppler, which is our emergency management communications software. Also working with wrapping up our year-end financials now that the fiscal year is officially closed. There's some finance director things that need to occur to our finances. So I've been working on getting those accomplished as much as I can. And we do have some interviews slated for a finance director position. So we're hoping that those go well and we can get someone in the position. Like the mayor said, we have the strategic plan initiative with EverStrive, which is about to kick off here very soon. We'll be sending the official invite to our strategic plan focus members, and those meetings will have 2 meetings, about 10 in each meeting group. They'll talk about the same things. It's just we wanted to keep the group as small as possible. So those 2 dates I believe are the 13th and the 22nd. Don't quote me on that, but my goal is to get those invitations out this week and get on everyone's calendar. And then we plan to also have a community survey that will go out to the masses. And we plan to have you guys meet for a retreat style meeting on June 2nd is the date that we have allotted for that right now. And all of the information coming from both the focus group meetings and the community survey and previous data that we have, which is the economic development survey results, those will all be then funneled to you guys to start thinking about ways we can make improvements in the next 5 years. Planning and zoning will meet this week. One of the things that they've been working on the different zoning changes and kind of just taking a look at the different uses that are available to us. One of the things that has come up, I had originally planned to, at some point, bring or propose the PUD, which is a planned unit development ordinance, allows for a little bit of flexibility when it comes to our zoning, where zoning is very strict on, these setbacks are required for this zone, or this zone. The PUD allows for an overlay on a parcel, which would allow them to have reductions in the requirements that are set forth for them based on their base level of zone. And then in exchange, they will make a way to better improve the development project. So it's kind of like, a lot of times it can be used for mixed use development if someone wants to have commercial and residential on the same parcel, or it can be used in a way where, our setbacks are set at 10 feet. If they want reduced setbacks, they would then in exchange provide something that is bettering the development beyond what our city code allows, like a walking trail or a park or something like that. So this is something that I plan to bring to planning and zoning on Thursday, and then they will discuss it in detail. And then if recommended, it will come back to you guys. Socket has begun their underground fiber installation. They're starting with the area of Main Street south to the schools. Again, this wasn't planned to speak of, but with the things that happened in Lexington, it is concerning to allow fiber within our community. We don't necessarily have a choice but to allow them within our community because of the right of way and the legalities behind the right of way. But I do feel very confident in Socket's abilities. I think that they're a really great company, and the school district, they've contracted with them already for services, and we're starting to have those same discussions. They're just a much more diligent company than we've seen previously, and I do feel comfortable still moving forward with Socket and fiber installation in Odessa. We do have 2 bids out currently. One bid is for the compensation study and the other is for GIS mapping services. And Lisa already said. Duplicated it. That's everything. Any questions about those items? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. All right. Public comments. We have Devin Harris who'd like to come up and speak about if you'd like to do the record.
Hello, my name is Devin Harris. I'm a trail builder. I also have a construction business. I do landscaping and build decks and just basically a handyman. I'm from Lexington. I'm here to talk to you guys about hopefully possibly building a hiking trail around the giant lake just south outside of town you guys own. I think it's called like Lake Lafayette, I believe. I want to do a hiking trail around that. And I also want to do mountain bike trails on the south side where it's real wooded and where there's a lot of woods and hills and stuff like that on the south side of the lake. I want to build mountain bike trails and hiking trails through all that whole area. And also, I also want to be able to bring outdoor activities to the community like running, Spartan challenges, Tough Mudder, stuff like that. I did a 21K 30 off squat in Texas. Absolutely loved it. The thing I love most about hiking, running, and being on my mountain bike is it forces me to be present in that moment. That's really hard to find nowadays with the world we live in, especially my generation and the younger generation. So I'm trying to bring outdoor activities to get all groups, all ages outside. So the trails I'm wanting to build or it's just whenever mountain bike trails are classified, it's just like skiing. You got white, easiest, your green, easier, blue, more kind of advanced beginner riding, and then you got your black, your advanced riders, and then double black, your pro advanced riders. It's just like skiing. What I want to do is build the trails. I'm not wanting to charge for the trails. The reason that is because I will cover you guys with insurance reasonings. If the trails are open for the public for free, you guys will be covered under the Missouri recreational use statute. And as long as the trails are open to the public for free and you guys are not charging specifically for the trails, then it will not raise insurance rates for the city or anyone or for you guys. Another thing that I would like to add is, just lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Oh, the other spot I was looking at too, it's not that much land, is it's South 8th Street. It's, you guys own that. There's a little patch of land you guys own. It backs up to railroad tracks. It's city ground. I think it's like 13 acres. It looks like there's 2 little ponds below there. I have not actually seen that land in person. I was just looking at it on my phone. But it's about 13 acres. It's got some hills too. If possibly build some trails out there, but where I would like to really do it is the lake that's right outside town. Way to get your money back is having events. I did a race in Branson. That's where this shirt came from. There was just a race, a mountain bike race in Buckner. It's called the KC Cup. That was just last weekend. There's a St. Joe race in May that I'll be participating in. So having events, that's how you can get your money back. Having food trucks, having people down there at the lake once something is built for activities. That's how. Another thing I would like to do is once trails and whole hiking trails developed around that lake, I think it'd be really beneficial to put camping spots down there and charging for people to come camp down there. I think that that lake has a lot of potential to become something more than what it is. And you guys could also charge non-Odessa residents that want to come fish it. You know, you can charge them to fish it whenever they come camp. They can buy an additional fishing license for that weekend or that day to come ride their bikes, hike, fish, camp, and do whatever. I think that lake and that area has a lot of potential. There's 300 acres there. I know a majority of it is a lake, but there's a lot of woods that are around it, and build a whole hiking trail around it and be a really awesome place. And that's basically it.
You've given us a lot of thought.
Yes,
So
thank you.
What we do here from here is I'll kind of get a hold of the board members and see if they need to, if they want to bring this forward for future discussion.
All right.
And
All right, and I've been working with other cities too. I've got a hiking trail already approved in Lexington at the state of where the Battle of Lexington was fought. I'll be building a hiking trail down through there on the river bluff. I got that actually approved over 8 months ago. It's still in the works. I'm still waiting for it to get marked out, but I know that this city work, it's you're looking at a year up to 5 years whenever it comes to doing something like this. So, and I'm prepared for that. So thank you guys for your time, and you guys have my number and email, and look forward to talking with you guys.
Josh, thank you.
Thank you. Do I gotta stay or am I good to go?
No, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. There is no old business, we'll move right on to new business. This is a request to amend the Monday, May 26th Board of Aldermen meeting date to Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, due to Memorial Day. Do I have a motion to change to amend the meeting date?
Make a motion that we amend the meeting date of May 26th to Tuesday, May 27th.
I'll second.
A motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none. Everyone, all in favor?
Actually, wait,
Wait,
isn't it the 29th?
it says 27th on the thing. Okay.
The calendar says the 29th.
May 26th is Monday, which is Memorial Day.
Okay. Month.
Better safe than sorry. Thank you.
Sorry.
All right. All in favor?
Okay, go ahead.
5-0. All right, introduction and recommendation of the police facility focus group. We have Marlon Dyer here, but she's
Just gonna do a quick introduction.
Make an introduction.
We have several. Would you like to come up, Helen and Bruce? Would you guys like to all come up? No? Let Marlon handle it? Marlon gets it. I'm just gonna do a quick introduction and a thank you to the mayor and the police focus group that put in 10 meetings, about 25 hours worth of sitting here or field trips. A couple of different field trips they went on. They toured a local police facility outside of Odessa. They came and toured the Odessa facility. And Marlon's here to share the recommendations, answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thought we would start with this. We'll kind of go through it. That's what we
Okay,
did.
good.
I think somebody should go, are you kidding? Like, no, we're not gonna start with that. That's what we were, that was our body, you know, it's full of information. Thanks to Chief Thompson, Shauna, Karen, Mayor, I want to say Mike was at almost maybe every meeting, almost. My responsibility this evening is simply to basically, I think, hand this off to you, which I'm gonna say you already have. And I'm gonna go a step further, so I hope that maybe you've already read it, the recommendation that the focus group has presented to you. Like Chief Thompson said, we met, started in November, started out with 11 people, we finished with 10. 3 of them are here with me this evening. James Prangle would be here. He was our committee chairman, but he had other obligations tonight, so that's why he's not here speaking, and I am. It was a good group. It was some important discussions, I think, happened. It was not a group that every time they got together, every time we met, they didn't all agree on everything. We didn't just come in and say yes, 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 and you know, kind of rubber stamp something. I don't think that happened. And I don't think anybody wanted that to happen. So I think the work of the group was valuable. We saw some things that we needed to see. Probably, and I'm not gonna go into what you've been given. Either you can read that or you have read that. The recommendation that we presented, I would say, is pretty much what you would expect. It's a follow-up to what was planned previously, what was on the ballot last August that didn't pass. It's along the same idea. The biggest thing was that we feel like in order to potentially get this passed in the future, it probably needs to be scaled back, which every time we said that, Chief Thompson said, he said, okay, but he didn't really want to say okay. And he'd tell us why we need certain things, why we, you know, and what we can back off of. Ultimately, it's a recommendation for the Board of Aldermen and the city to look at and say, okay, we've got 10 people that looked at what we've been looking at and what we need. And they say, yeah, we need it. Because probably the one thing that like everybody agreed on, when we go look at the old shop building, that's not a police station. I mean, it is right now. And the one thing I think we all thought was that Chief Thompson and our police department does a pretty good job working with something that's not what most police stations should look like. Okay. And they need something more than that. Now, with that said, we also all recognize the fact that probably in your own home, in your own life, there's things you'd like to have that you can't afford. And at this point in time, it's a little tough to afford certain things. Certainly the city said back in August that no, we can't do that right now. The question is, how can we make that happen? So that's kind of where we're at. The recommendation that we presented cut some things out, talked about what is necessary, what is not, how much money maybe should be put into the next tax opportunity, when that should be. We suggested probably not till next year, next April, before it'd be the earliest that you would try to do something. And probably what it comes down to, well, I think I'm speaking, I'm gonna look back at my 3 compadres back here, and hope that they're not going shaking their head up. They're kind of nodding a little bit. Those are things we agreed on, and we came to a conclusion about what's necessary and what might be necessary. And it wasn't all, I mean, probably in the end, we all said, yes, we can go with this recommendation. We didn't all agree on everything, because there was things other people wanted, you know, some of the members of the group wanted certain things, other members said, no, that's not gonna get us moving forward. Because ultimately, what we've got to do is get the city, the citizens of Odessa to say, yeah, you know, we're good with this, we want to go forward with this, we'll pass a tax, we'll pass something that will move us forward. And that's just not real easy right now. I mean, one of the things I watched last week, you know, here in Odessa, we didn't pass the, you know, some things that we thought we wanted or that some people wanted. But I saw that in cities around the area. Some things passed, some things didn't. And generally, where we're at right now, a lot of people are just, you know, gonna vote no on about any tax that comes up. And that makes it tough. Now I'm gonna speak, that's, I think, where we were at for the most part. I would say the most important thing is that you take this recommendation over the course of the next year, you work to inform the community, be transparent. There's things that people are not happy about in the city that may directly fall on your shoulders. There's things that they're not happy about that happened 20 years ago, and they're still not happy, and they're not voting for something because of that. So those are tough things to fix, and we talked about that in our meeting. You know, we didn't come up with a real solution with that, but the most important thing is for the city and the Board of Aldermen to be extremely transparent, to work to inform and to bring people on board. I heard, I think what you talked, or maybe what Shauna talked about, the work you're getting ready to do, where you're bringing
Strategic plan.
the strategic planning, you're bringing some other people in. I think those are the kind of things you've got to do. You've got to get more people on board. You got 10 people here that I think, you know, that we saw what we have, and we saw that there is a need for something different. How that's going to happen, ultimately, you take this recommendation, you put your mind to it and your efforts, and hopefully it'll be something that you can get us going forward on and get people involved in, and we can you know, see something happen, you know, start to happen a year from now. I think consensus of the board or of the focus group was that most people said, yeah, we're willing to continue to help in some way. You know, we got started on a project, you know, as far as just investigating and coming up with some ideas and some recommendations. Most of the people in this group, I think, would come back and say, hey, if there's something we can do to help going forward, we would be willing to do that. I think I've said more than enough. You have questions. I don't know if anybody's looked at that enough to have a question, but anybody have a question for me or probably for Bruce or Talon or David?
I do. So I've looked through here and it leaves a lot of things very vague. It says a 3/8 sales tax, but it never says how much do you think the community is willing to actually pay for a building. I've heard rumors from people on the board of there was numbers that you've talked about, specific things you wanted in it, specific things you didn't want in it. I see that has all been left out, and it's just focusing on ideas, not on actual things. The only things I see in here that are tangible of is a new police facility located on 104 East Dryden, new construction, and a 3/8 sales tax.
Yes.
So was there anything else in there that?
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, and probably the last couple of meetings, I mean, all of those things you just mentioned, I mean, numbers were thrown out there, but I mean, the bottom line is, and I think the members of the committee that are here also would agree, and if they want to speak on this, I think you would be willing for them to. We can't say for sure, because we're talking a year from now. I mean, if we put a number on something right now, it won't be the same next April when a vote would be taken, and then beyond that, it wouldn't be the same either. You know, and that's where, to me, it comes back to you. I mean, what we're saying is we know there's a need for something. We see a need. What was proposed initially, I mean, if we could have that, that'd be fantastic. I mean, nobody would say, you know, I think, well, I'll take it back, there would be people that wouldn't think that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Because there's always somebody that's gonna think something about, you know, it's too much, it's whatever. But most people would say, you know, if we could have something really nice, you know, and a lot of different things that we don't have now, they would like, of course, to. We didn't feel like as a group, we could put hard numbers on things. That would, I mean, we could do it, but it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be realistic. Some of the things that, you know, as far as the different aspects of the building, you know, we talked about, no, we don't want to, you know, we can't. We removed some ideas, we held on to some ideas, but ultimately we want to get as much as we can for the money that it would take to do it and the money that we can get approved. So it is vague. It is vague.
Very vague.
I mean, and I think that we did that almost by design.
Okay.
Because I don't think that we can, you know, we don't have a vote on anything. You're gonna put something out there a year from now, and then we'll have a vote on it. I think what we said is, we would be willing to try to help you to get the votes you need, that the city needs to get it passed down the road. And do the things that are necessary to try to help with that. You know, a lot of there's a paragraph in there that talks about some things that maybe we can do that will inform and educate the community, you know, and that's important. Last August, it was, I think it was 59% were no, and like 41, you know, in favor of. I mean, lost by, you know, 100 and some votes, you know, so could this get turned around? I think it absolutely could. Will it be easy? Probably not, because things like this usually aren't easy. But I think it'll take some work from everybody, and ultimately the board and the city are the ones that are going to carry the ball for it. But we're willing to be very involved, you know, as much involved as we can.
If I could add a couple of things that are in there too, Colin. You'll read that the money collected from the sales tax is recommended to go exclusively to paying the debt and facility maintenance.
Yep.
Okay. And also the recommendation for a community oversight committee.
I've seen that. I was trying to find that because I wanted to point that out, that I liked that.
But once again, I think when we talked about that, and that's something the whole thing's a recommendation, but that's something the board of Aldermen, you would, you know, we're saying that would be something that if you felt like was necessary, it might be a good thing. We think it could be a good thing. You know, so much of it is, you know, us saying, yeah, this is good. We don't know exactly how much and different things, but we're going to support you and your efforts to make this happen. Any other questions?
Not specifically on this topic, but as this was probably our first community outreach group that we've had for a while. I don't remember any. How do you feel the process was? And I hope a couple of you guys can speak up as well. What went well? What didn't go so well? Because we would like to do more of these. We have a couple more in mind for other topics, like the reservoir being one of them. You know, we had some comments tonight. How can we improve upon those and get more community engagement through that process? What are your thoughts having gone through?
I'm gonna just see if one of the other gentlemen want to speak to that as far as. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Alan Searles.
Was the food good?
Food was great. Thank you to our city staff. I would say that overall how it went and kind of how effective it was, I think Marlon kind of hit the nail on the head. We all came together, varying backgrounds, varying ages. I'm pretty sure I was the youngest one on the board or on the committee. And I would say that for all of us to come together and eventually come to a consensus that we need something. What we have now is definitely not sufficient. And this is our idea or a plan to move forward, I think is speaks a lot to not only the rest of the committee, but also to the effectiveness of it. We were definitely able to work with the chief and see, what they needed and clearly kind of say, okay, this is going to be excessive. What can we cut back on in order to make it work? I definitely think that, well, we definitely had some different opinions, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
But you need that, right? I think that we did a great job of getting members for the committee. I think that the mayor did a phenomenal job on his interviews, trying to get people in of varying backgrounds. So it was definitely effective. And I would 100% be on board for serving on another one if we needed it. Can I speak one moment to your talking about being vague? I work at Lowe's, right? So 2019, you could build a $2,500 deck or, 20 by 20, whatever. After COVID, it was $25,000 for the same size. So there's not really a way to be specific on a number in construction this far in advance. Because you're going to get locked into a number. We could have tariffs go up and, have the cost of building materials go up, which makes it impossible to reach that. There we are with half a building and we're already out of the budget. I think the reason we left it vague was to try and make it something that we could get accomplished and leave it up to the people to decide what they were willing to pay. We already know what they aren't willing to pay. I think this was a way for us to kind of reach a middle ground, get with the chief, see what they needed, see what we thought they needed, and try and get some of that built. So, okay.
Hello, I'm David Batchley, and I think to address there wasn't a dollar amount figure placed in. There are so many variables that go into that. The type of construction and the architect and engineering firm that you use, the site preparation, all kinds of things go into that are really varied. Chief Thompson told us that between January and our last meeting, according to the architect engineering firm, the price per square foot went up $85 or $90 a square foot, which is substantial. So if it changes that much again in 4 months, so we couldn't really put a dollar amount on it. Now, we know what 3/8 of a cent sales tax produces. And over that period of 25 or 30 years, kind of how much money there will be. Whether or not you choose to spend that much, at some point, there's a limit. And you have to set a limit because you don't know the future. But everything else inside that building also costs money. So that's a variable. We did cut the size of the building almost in half, I think, from the original.
So do you have a square footage you have in mind? Because that's not, it just says you cut it in half.
I
doesn't have
don't know
square
if
footage
you're recommended to tell you because ultimately what you spend on that building is going to dictate how big that's really going to be. And the construction of it and who you use to do all those, the construction, the architecture and the engineering and everything else. So if you go back to your original plan, you might see and everything about how big it is. It doesn't cut that cost in half because it still could be a substantial amount depending on what you do for the construction, or if we use the figures that they gave us, it changes it a lot. It could go half or you double that, So that's the thing. As far as the committee and everything, it was great. Everybody that was involved, it was fantastic. It was a great group. We did get a lot of different ideas, and I'm like the other guys here. I would be willing to be on another committee. I think it was a great experience, and I think it's a great way to get public input and to get things done. Thank you.
You want to say anything?
Well, I think
You good?
I think they pretty well covered everything. The only thing I would add as far as coming up with a dollar amount, at that table, you have to decide what the final building size is going to be. And personally, I see it as two approaches. You can build one building suitable to last us for 10, 15 years. Or you can build a building suitable to get the police into a more functional building. And one of the key words that we had on the wall was expansion. So that as the city grows, or as the need grows, or as the funds are available, you can add to that first phase of the building. So that's something we couldn't really decide. Where should you start? You know, because that gets into a deeper question as to where you see those funds being used in the future. 3/8 of a cent will generate revenue at this level. If you build a smaller building, your debt service is going to be down here. So your choice is to pay that off quickly, close out the sales tax, and go on down the road, or build at this level, collect the tax, and add on to it. And the tax continues, or potentially take that and build a shelter. That we need. So there's a lot of decisions that we couldn't make, couldn't get to that point.
I do appreciate you guys not throwing a recommendation out there without the full support of the group. That's something that I do appreciate. You're not just throwing opinions out there that you don't, that won't well thought out or not. I think only that you don't feel good enough about it to throw the weight of the group behind it. I appreciate that.
I think the group, like I said, there was a lot of different opinions and a lot of good discussion. And I think that's what's necessary to come up with a positive solution. I want to just address your question. I think this is, Bruce is a numbers guy. I mean, he geared us that direction, and so that was real important. And, you know, we had different people. I mean, David was he was gonna go somewhere, some new type of construction. He heard about something, or 3D printing. So, I mean, he heard that, he took off, you know, so we had a wide variety of people. I'm gonna give you this because the question you just asked a minute ago about the committee, I mean, you're talking about more focus groups and stuff like that. We had great food at times. You know, I mean, thank you, but I'm gonna turn that around a little bit though, because going forward, those are the type of things that sometimes when people hear about this, they see that, they think, what are they wasting food feeding for? Or wasting time, wasting money feeding them, you know. I mean, and you're gonna, and I'm not saying that's right, but I'm saying those are the kind of things that I will say transparency, the perception. Perception is everything at times, and it shouldn't always be like that. But the reality is, I think you have to be cautious on how you implement a focus group. Everything was done very well with us, but I mean, and we were fed, and I don't know that that's always necessary, to be very honest. I was in education for 30 years, and I loved it when we had cookies and chips and pop and things were available, but it wasn't always the most fiscally responsible thing to do sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you know, so those are things, and I'm not criticizing because I like.
No, I totally understand.
I think I ate 4 cookies one night from something, but I didn't tell my wife. She's not watching.
Anna's got it.
This is.
It'll be in the paper.
Yeah, okay. We'll make it 6.
Subway cookies.
But no, those are the kind of things that to get this, to move this forward, I think you've gotta, the people of the community have to say, you know, hey, the city's working hard to cut costs, to save money, to be as fiscally responsible. Because that's one thing was part of our goals and our mission statement, that type of thing was about being fiscally responsible. And so as much as anything, that's, I think, what we also hand off to the board and say, hey, that's what me as a citizen, I want to be able to see that, you know, hey, that the city is trying to do everything they can to cut corners when they need to and still do things properly. But I mean, save some money when you can.
You know, so maybe just not quite as many cookies.
Well, and to that point, I appreciate you bringing that up. To that point.
Well, that's the question you asked, and that's where my mind went as far as, you know, that's just. That's gonna, you know, you gotta get people on board with this, and I think if we could get everybody in town to come down and look and see what the police are working with. You know, they still may not want to pay the tax, but they'd have to say, yeah, that's not real good. They're missing a lot of things that they need to have there, or they don't have some of the components that are necessary to be as effective as they could be. But we won't get everybody to go look at it. But we could try. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marlon, David, Alan, Bruce. Thank you so much. We're very grateful for your service to that board. You did a fantastic job. Thank you. All right, next up, we have a recommendation and appointment of incoming planning commissioner Stephen Nance. Steve couldn't be here tonight, so with the board's approval, if he is approved, he will be sworn in at City Hall.
Yes, correct.
Right. This recommendation, actually, it doesn't come from me, it comes from Ruth Beamer. But I talked to Steve and I like what he's been attending the planning and zoning meetings. And I think he's just an excellent fit for the planning and zoning board. So I would take a motion to approve his nomination to the planning and zoning board. Motion that we approve Steve Nance to the planning and zoning. Got a motion and a second, all in favor? 5-0, thank you. All right, moving on to resolution number 2025-11. Proposed resolution number 2025-11, demonstrating its commitment to public safety, including a commitment to reducing violent crime and authorizing the city to pursue Missouri Blue Shield designation. Discussion. Chief, you got anything to say on this?
I think everybody's had an opportunity to see my board action report with the governor's information attached. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. One of the outcomes from being a Missouri Blue Shield community would be grant opportunities that the governor's office, $10 million worth of grant opportunities that the governor's office has designated for those communities that are given that designation by the governor's office. One of the requirements is a resolution by the elected body of the community, which I highlighted in my board action report for you. Very good.
Any questions, discussion? All right, then I would take, okay, go ahead.
I looked through the requirements online and I didn't find any actual tangible numbers or figures. It seemed pretty just generic of just do these certain things, show an initiative, have a board of aldermen voted in. So what kind of requirements are they actually saying? Do you have to have a percentage of cases closed, or is there any actually hard data, or is it all just ambiguous like it reads?
As far as hard data, they do require us in the application to provide documentation on some of the programs. I'll give you an example. Some of our community-oriented policing examples are highly documented on our social media page or in the Odessan or on our website, like our Shop with a Cop, DARE program, National Night Out, our activities at Puddle Jumpers, those types of things. Some data-driven policing strategies are also highly documented. We will provide that information to them. This is a part of the application process. I will also provide the resolution if it's approved by the board. I have a half dozen recommendation letters from community leaders that will also be included in the application. Our school resource officer program is one that received a nice recommendation letter from the school district for designation with that. Also our commitment to mental health, our CIT, programs, including our therapy dog, our advancements with, helping, public safety cope with, mental health, issues. I have recommendation letters from groups that we partner with, including the Whatcom County Veterans Coalition. So all of that will be compiled along with the resolution if it is approved. And then that is submitted to the governor's office. There's a form that has come out since my board action report, and you can see it on the governor's website that lays out some of those programs that they want to know whether we participate or not. And the grant application, or sorry, the designation application doesn't say you have to participate in all of them. They just want to know what you are participating in, and then I'm assuming the governor's office makes the determination.
So it's not necessarily like become this and then have to check off moving forward. It's we've done these things that allow us to be classified as.
Okay.
Any further questions? All right, I would take a motion to approve resolution 2025-11.
I move that we approve resolution 2025-11 Missouri Blue Shield Program.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor? 5-0, thank you. Next up, bill number 2025-10. Introduction and readings of bill number 2025-10, approving the replat of lot 2 North Park Properties, the subdivision in Odessa, Lafayette County, Missouri. First reading, take a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve first reading of bill number 2025-10. Replat of lot number 2 North Park Properties.
A second.
We have a motion and a second, discussion.
This was discussed at the last planning and zoning meeting. They recommended that we approve it.
Okay.
Aaron Feith is the person I would say is he has a lot invested in this community. This is where he grew up. He is a person that if someone wanted someone to recommend to do some work, I would recommend him.
Very good. All right. Got a motion and a second, all in favor of the first reading? 5-0, moving to second reading. Introduction and readings of bill number 2025-10, approving the replat of lot 2 North Park Properties, a subdivision in Odessa, Lafayette County, Missouri. Second reading, I take a motion to approve.
I'll move as the second reading, the approval of bill number 2025-10, approving the replat of lot 2 North Park Properties.
Got a motion and a second, since we've already had discussion, roll call.
And we are approving this bill as an ordinance,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Aldermember Clacty,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Polson,
Yes.
Kerrigan,
Yes.
Star.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried, given ordinance number 3150.
And discussion on the downtown sidewalk funding. We got representatives from the building solutions and Sean Davis to help with the discussion.
Let me do a quick.
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Tonight we'll be discussing some potential funding options for the downtown revitalization project. As you all know, we opened the bids for the project on February 27, and we're had to reject those bids due to a multitude of things, but primarily the bids being too high and too few of the bids that were received. So we've hired Navigate's been working with us for
About a year now.
over a little over a year maybe. And they've been helping us kind of manage the project and try our best to keep a very complicated and convoluted project on track. So they're just going, their last update that we gave you, this is kind of taking place from that point in the timeline of this project and the life of this project. But tonight we wanted to discuss the different funding options that we have at the end of the presentation, and this presentation is going to tell you how we got to where we are today. So I'll introduce Scott.
Phyllis.
And he's with Navigate Building Solutions, so thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come to speak to you tonight. As Sean mentioned, it's going to go through the timelines from that last community engagement update on August 7th, all the way through how we get to today. We'll also go into a summary recap of the bid results that were received on February 27th, the strategy that the project team put together for rebidding, and then the contract request, contract amendment request from the design team. So, as we mentioned, we met on August 7th to kind of go through the community update and where we are with the project. As part of that update, the plan was to go out to bid in August shortly thereafter. We got the approval from MoDOT to proceed with the easement procurement. This was a city activity to negotiate temporary construction easements with the business owners on the intersection. Did that on August 23rd. We turned that around really quickly, got all the easement and negotiations completed within 3 weeks. And got that submitted to MoDOT for final approval September 25th. Shortly thereafter, on the 27th, we were notified that they were missing some information in their submittal. That's what thus led us to canceling the bidding event that was scheduled for October. Owen worked over the course of the next 2 to 2.5 months to gather this information. Finally got our final submission submitted in December 9th. There were still several revisions that took place over the course of that final submission, which is what drove us to not getting that final authorization to proceed from MoDOT on January 31st. That got us to the immediate week, February 6th, we issued the project to bid, and then MoDOT requires a three-week bidding period, opening the bids on the 27th. So back in January of 2024, the design team provided us with an estimate telling us that the construction cost of the project would be about $2.15 million. And we, as the city, had budgeted about $2.3 million to kind of cover any additional soft costs associated with the project. That summer, July, we had done a bid package to buy out the lighting package separately. This was to kind of cut some of that margin out from the general contractor, something that we could go procure ourselves. Those bids did come back favorable. We got them about $55,000 below the estimated budget that we had for these items. So at that point in time, we had some reassurance that, hey, the numbers that the design team were providing were accurate, given that we were within a percent margin and we came in under. So we thought maybe if anything, these numbers were a little fat, would have some play there by the time we got to, or some contingency come bid day. Brings us to February of 2025. We had gotten an updated estimate from the design team telling us that the cost had increased. They're anticipating the construction cost of the project to be 1.9 million, plus the lighting package that we had associated and already bought out, bringing us to a total construction cost of 2.3. That was in excess of the 2.15 construction budget we had, but we were still in a palatable range that we thought, hey, maybe the bids come back favorable, we can still get the project done with the budget and available funding we had. Come into February, we did open bids. Bids came in a lot higher than anticipated. 3.5 million between the two projects, total construction costs. When you add in the light pole package that we bid out in the last summer, that put us over $3.8 million for the total project cost for the two intersections and 7 bid packages. As you know, this was 2 separate projects, so we've kind of been talking as one holistic number. So I wanted to share a delineation and breakdown between the 2 projects. So phase 1, which included the 2nd Street portion of the project, came in just under 2 million, about $900,000 over the estimate. And then Mason Street, about $850,000 estimate there, came in about $640,000 above that estimate. In total, getting us to that $3.8 million bid that we talked about on the previous page. So where does that put us in regards to the whole project? Taking the Second Street, Mason Street costs, the lighting package we got, the initial contract value from the design team, and then their open change order request, that put us to a total program cost for the project over 4.3 million, about $4.35 million. Knowing we don't have that available funding, not even close to that, we kind of went back to the drawing board, trying to strategize, how could we cut costs out of this by not we're drastically reducing the programming scope. So first thing we did is we reached out to both the bidders that bid on the job as well as people that were interested at one point and then decided they didn't want to submit a bid. Why did they not want to submit? Why did they not want to submit a bid, and what they were seeing from some of their tiers of contractors? So what we had gathered is there were some concerns associated with the accelerated schedule and effort to meet the puddle jumpers deadline. There was some concerns with that, and then doubled with the liquidated damages. So the costs associated or the fee and then not finishing on time that would be owed back to the city. So the combination of the two kind of scared off some of those potential bidders and interest in the project. There was also some current concerns with the phasing of the sidewalks. We had a strategy going into it to try to maintain open access to these buildings and cutting the sidewalk down into half long ways to try to give them one side of the two to operate on over the course of the construction, not doing any impact into those businesses, knowing we were going to be doing that project in the fall when it's their busiest time with the Christmas rush. Some of the feedback we got that they thought it'd be more efficient to just take it bite-sized pieces at a time, take that one section in front of that business. They might be impacted by a day or two, get them all done and they're ready to go and just kind of work their way down. It would be impacting the business a little bit, but it'd be a 1 to 3 day process to get them in and out of there, and then they're back to normal business operations from there. Combining the project into a single bid packages. So we did get some feedback that after bidding that MoDOT would allow us to combine these back into a single bid package. Even though they're treated as separate grants, there would just be some work on the back end with processing the invoices. And then some other feedback, the last bit of feedback was there was a lot of some other projects bidding at the same time that were a little bit larger piece of the pie that they thought they'd dedicate their resources to instead. So part of the strategy is going to be to do some more market research prior to go out to bid to make sure we're not conflicting with any large projects in the area to make sure we're maximizing that participation. In addition to some of those items, incorporated some design revisions. So we worked through an extensive electrical design, starting with Troy helping us tremendously from the start. Getting every bells and whistles, every dream that you guys could ever ask for that. We realized there were some spots that we could probably cut back on and still maintain the needs to support the festival infrastructure that happens in the intersection. So by doing that, would be reducing the circuit counts and putting 3 ballers on a circuit versus 1. Consolidating electrical panel rotations in half from 8 to 4 to try to reduce on some of those cablings. And you can combine some of those panels. Some of them might get bigger, but then you're not all the infrastructure, the racks, the concrete foundations to support all of that. Some of that stuff would go away and you lose some of the cables. And then the last portion of that would be to perform electrical cabling in-house. There was some contemplation at the time to do that. And then we ultimately did, the lack of resources the city had available at the time to devote to the project. We decided to pull that back in the contract. So we're anticipating anywhere from $225,000 to $320,000 in savings on those. And then lastly, negotiation of the design team agreement with Aldermen. They have requested additional compensation for several items. The Second Street Construction Engineering Administration, the Mason Street Construction Engineering, and then additional services for work that have already been performed, totaling about $260,000 worth of additional changes. We think that there's an ability to negotiate some of that off based on the feedback that we received from the city's legal counsel on there, that we can cut some of those costs on there. So that gets us to this final summary budget estimate here, on the bottom of the page. Taking that total project cost, we reviewed a few slides back, reducing the $100,000 for the rebid strategy, the $225,000 for the design revisions, $50,000 off of the contract amendment negotiations, and then MoDOT has informed us that there is some additional funding that could be seeking for the project, and there's a maximum limit that is allowed per single project. The amount that we have remaining on that Second Street portion is $126,000. They think that money is available that we could utilize as well. taking that with the available funding that the city has allocated to the project, that leaves us with a delta of about $1.15 million of overage that we need to seek additional funding. Those are gonna based on those, I gave you ranges on each one of those potential saving opportunities. We wanted to give you the conservative budget on that to make sure that we are covered, have some contingency there if something maybe come back less favorable than we were hoping.
You have any questions for Scott? I also have the internal kind of funding options here that we can discuss next. But do you have any questions about the timeline and kind of how things took place with the project in the past year? No questions? Okay. Okay, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, thank you.
Don't go too far, just in case. Okay, so funding option wise, Joey mentioned the last time he was here, when the fire department was here, kind of what we were looking at if we were to do a COP lease for or issue debt to cover the difference between these two. And he talked a little bit about how it's to have collateral for sidewalks is a little bit difficult. And then also one of the things that's important to realize too is the fees and things that are associated with issuing debt or going forward with the COP lease. So hypothetically speaking, for funding option one, if we were to go that route, the estimated lease payment amount for 20 years would be $89,500. For 15 years, $107,000, and 10 years, $140,000. So those are all relatively large numbers. The logical location for them would be to be paid for by the transportation sales tax. There, we could make an argument that it could also be funded by the capital improvement sales tax if we wanted to split the difference between the two. But a pretty large obligation that we would have for an extended period of time to make things whole for this project. The alternative funding option that I have discussed or presented to Joey, and he feels like it would be a tangible option. It would save us upwards of $20,000 in fees, and that option would be to borrow from ourselves. The capital improvement fund, so that has a 0.5 cent sales tax associated with it, and we use that fund to pay for the capital needs of the street department, the parks department, the police department, and general administration. So each year our CIP fund for those departments is funded by this tax. Based on, again, as you know, we don't have our last audit, so I'm basing these off of estimated unaudited figures, but I feel generally confident in them. The CIP reserves has gone up significantly in the past few years. We're budgeting for the use of reserves. We're budgeting large quantities and annual amounts for CIP, but what happens in the CIP fund is just for example, like Darren's water project. This didn't happen here, but just a hypothetical. You budget 90,000 and then our crew finds a better alternative that doesn't cost us $90,000. So the difference that ends up going back to the CIP reserves. So that happening over and over, that gets us to what we are currently at projecting our fund balance percentage to be at in our CIP reserves is over 200%, which is a balance of $975,000. For 25-26, the budget we just approved on April 1st, we have 208,000 budgeted to use of CIP reserves. But like I said, just because we budgeted 208 doesn't mean we'll use 208, but we need to take that into consideration. That's the max we could use of the 975. So hypothetically speaking, that would bring our reserves down to 770 something. And then if we were to use half of that or use 500,000 of our $1 million deficit that we have, it would reduce the fund balance of the CIP fund to be 27%. The good thing about the capital improvement fund is that there is not a lot of, there's some, but not a lot of annual need there. It's kind of a fund that we can use as needed, if you will. We have a few debt payments that are coming out of that, but a low fund balance is not a concern from a financial perspective in this fund. The other $500,000 could come from our electric fund. And as you know, our electric fund has probably the most healthiest reserves out of the operating different proprietary funds, currently sitting at 88% fund balance. What was suggested by, if we were to borrow from ourselves, from Joey, would be that we borrow from ourselves at an interest rate. He suggested 4%. If we were to leave that money in the electric fund, it would be accruing interest. So if we were to take it out, we should account for the fact that we would have had that interest in. So if we were to take $500,000 and pay ourselves back over 20 years, that would be a much lower payment of $36,800. To spread that out over 15 years, it'd be $45,000, and 10 years, it would be $61,700. This does bring our fund balance down to 52% in the electric fund, but it's not, the 500,000 is not what is bringing down the fund balance in the electric fund from 88% to 52%. What's bringing that down is that we budgeted over $1 million of use of reserves in that fund this fiscal year to pay for some of our deficit with the sidewalk project and the electric portion of the sidewalk project. But we also put a lot of things in the CIP for the electric fund to help with our resiliency and infrastructure costs and needs for the electric department this year. So a lot of that it's more so the $1 million than the 500 that's bringing us down from 88 to 52. But 52% fund balance is still a significant fund balance, especially for a proprietary fund from just the financial perspective. So staff's recommendation would be to borrow from ourselves in this scenario and utilize some of the large fund balance that we currently have in our CIP reserves. But we do still have the option, and Joey can, even though there is the collateral issue, he still feels confident in his ability to work through those issues and make sure that we could still issue a COP if we needed to. And I rounded out to whole numbers, like Scott said in our previous, he had a deficit number of 1.1 million for the project. That's based on, all the solutions that he's come forth with to help with our deficit they're within a range. And he based that figure of the 1.1 deficit based on the lowest figures in the range as opposed to the greatest. So we could anticipate, it to be less than the 1.1. So I just figured everything at 1 million for easy kind of figuring to figure out if option 1 or option 2 was best for us. We did also look very in depth at potentially reducing the scope of the project beyond what was in the previous slide deck, and maybe doing less of the project or even doing a phase 3 of Mason Street and going for additional TAP money and getting the 3rd phase done. The problem with that is that it only saved us maybe 200, maybe 250,000 to take off a portion of Mason Street and just do kind of the 4-way to the alleys and then all of 2nd Street, because the street light infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure, and the conduit only goes to the alleys. So what we'd be cutting off from the alleys out on Mason it was the least expensive part. It was really just parking stalls and sidewalks. There was no conduit and things like that. And on top of that, those four quadrants beyond, be the north-south side on Mason past the alleys. There's only 3 of those quadrants instead of 4 because we originally, from the start of the project, have planned to not replace the sidewalks in front of the library because they are significantly newer than the rest of downtown. So there was very, very, very minimal savings to reduce the scope, and there's a concern of having another cap project as well. And
The cost would be, increase.
it would almost be better for us to just do it ourselves, and then you still have the cost of bidding and the bidding services and getting the plans put together for just that part, and having our engineers extract that from our existing plans. There's the cost associated with that as well.
Questions?
It's not an ideal situation, very much so recognize that.
Do you need direction from the board on which funding option to pursue?
That would be great.
On paper, funding option number 2 looks the best.
The other thing with funding option number 2 is it gives us a little bit of flexibility. If we were to issue a COP lease and have an $80,000 payment each year, we have to make that payment each year. We don't have a choice. But with borrowing from ourselves, if we needed to, it wouldn't be recommended, but if we absolutely needed to and something tragic happened, we wouldn't be obligated to make the payment. We 100% would prioritize the payment, but if the world ended, we have that flexibility.
I personally like borrowing from ourselves better,
I agree.
and it makes the payments lower. So that's my recommendation.
For anyone that has an alternate opinion, does everybody agree that that's the direction to go? Anybody disagree?
I don't know. I have a question. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could I ask a question?
Yes, Bruce, in this situation, you can.
Is it possible to eliminate Mason completely from this project, or what would be the impact?
So Mason Street, we would have to return the dollars back to MoDOT. And that was the larger grant portion, was $500,000 for Mason Street particularly.
So what would we end up being short, if any, if we eliminated Mason?
One of the biggest things is we moved the design work for the 4-way intersection to Mason Street because it had a larger funding mechanism. So we would have to bring up the cost of Second Street and lose the largest portion of our funding.
There's a component to that, the electrical infrastructure that's routed in that would require redesign efforts, cost associated to relocate all of that electrical routing to the 2 east and west end of Second Street.
So rather than being $1.5 million short, would we be 500,000 short, or would we be 2 million short?
I would say
What's the difference?
I don't have an exact number at all.
Usually pretty close to a wash thing, because the $500,000 you lose out of Mason Street's grant funding. And the 500,000 you would save, that kind of offset.
Well, let me look at
Pretty close to the wash, probably quite frankly, it'd still be the same amount.
the construction costs associated with Mason Street was
1.5 million.
1.5 million, and 500 of it would be grant funded.
And about
The
five-
problem is that we have $2 million worth of Second Street to do, and you probably have to add at least $500,000 back into Second Street, so that would bring that to 2.5, and we'd only get 50,000 from MoDOT.
Versus the 700.
Yeah, it'd make the intersection very challenging.
What time frame do we have on the grant from MoDOT?
As soon as possible. In reality, the Second Street project has gone past its intended date. They allowed that so we could bid them at the same time. So from MoDOT's perspective, as soon as possible.
They've already allocated appropriated money for this project with the approval we got at the end of January, so that money is still there. We need to continue to get this approved and bid out by the end of the fiscal year. Before they reallocate new money in their budgets.
There's also an unintended consequence of returning federal and state funding back once it's been awarded and obligated. It really sets us back for any future funding requests that we may have. It's kind of like a red flag against us, kind of tied to our name.
You said you needed, you didn't use it,
Mhm.
so why would we give you more? Basically.
Mhm.
So the consensus of the board is to move forward with option 2. Let me see, you had bobbing up and down. So there's your direction.
All right,
Option 2.
we will go forward.
Very good. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
All right. Next scheduled meeting is Monday, April 28th. 7 p.m. right here. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? 5-0, we are adjourned.